There comes a moment of profound and startling silence. It is a moment when the world, with all its noise and striving, falls completely away. And in that sacred emptiness, a question arises, not from the mind, but from the very depths of your being. What if everything you have been doing to reach God has been the very thing keeping you from the realization of God? We have been students of a great truth. We have studied the words, we have admired the life, we have prayed to the presence we call the Christ. But I am here to ask you to stop. Stop everything. Cease from all this mental and spiritual activity. For the revolutionary truth that was unveiled is this: you are not a servant seeking a master. You are not a sinner seeking a savior. You are the very living presence of God, individualized. The Master said, "Is it not written in your law?" I said, "Ye are gods." He did not say you will become gods. He showed you what you are, right here, right now, behind the veil of your own belief in separation. This is the truth that changes everything. It silences the seeker because it reveals the sought is the seeker. This is not a teaching to be believed, but a reality to be witnessed. It requires no effort, only a sublime and total surrender. It asks you to lay down the burden of seeking and to rest in the profound acknowledgement of what is. I am is the name. I am is the identity. I am is the Christ of your own being. So I invite you now into a sacred act. If these words have found a home within you, if they have stirred that inner witness, then let this be more than a passing moment. Let it be a covenant with your own self. Let your engagement with this truth be active. Become part of this silent communion by subscribing to this channel, that these reminders may continually call you home from the world of seeking to the kingdom of is-ness. And now, as a final, powerful declaration of your understanding, I ask you to leave a single number in the comments below. Let that number be 34. Let it be your silent testament, your agreement with the scripture, your acknowledgement that you have heard the call to stop everything and remember what you are. And so we come to the very heart of the instruction. The first and most necessary step on a path that is, in truth, a non-path, for it leads you nowhere you are not already. It is the call to cease all mental striving. This is not a suggestion to be lazy, nor is it an invitation to moral laxity. It is a radical, surgical imperative aimed at the very root of our suffering, the ceaseless, churning activity of the mind that believes it can, through its own effort and its own accumulation of knowledge, grasp the infinite. Think of your own life. Consider the sheer volume of mental energy you expend in a single day seeking security, seeking peace, seeking love, seeking approval, seeking God. Your mind is a perpetual motion machine of want and worry. It replays the grievances of yesterday and constructs elaborate fortresses of anxiety against the uncertainties of tomorrow. It takes the simple, pure moment of now and fractures it into 1,000 pieces of memory and projection. And then, in a tragic irony, it sets itself the task of seeking a wholeness that its own activity has shattered. You are like a man standing in a clear, fresh stream, desperately churning the water with a stick, and then weeping because he is thirsty and cannot see a still pool from which to drink. This mental striving is what we have mistaken for spirituality. We have been taught to pray with lists of desires, to meditate with goals of achieving certain states of consciousness, to study sacred texts as if they were manuals for assembling a piece of furniture. We approach God as a problem to be solved, an equation to be balanced. We say, if I think the right thoughts, if I hold the correct doctrines, if I perform these rituals with enough sincerity, then I will earn a glimpse of the divine. This entire paradigm is the barrier. It is the cloud that obscures the ever-present sun. Your mind, in its frantic effort to find peace, is the very noise that drowns out the eternal silence where peace abides. The truth is, the kingdom of God is not something that can be attained. It cannot be approached. It can only be realized, acknowledged, and witnessed as the very substance of your being, here and now. But for this realization to dawn, the seeking must stop. The mental stick must be dropped into the stream, and you must simply be still, allowing the silt of your thoughts to settle of its own accord. This is not a passive resignation. It is the most active state of receptivity. It is an act of profound intelligence, recognizing that the tool you have been using is incapable of performing the task. Let me illustrate this with the most mundane of examples. You are trying to remember a name. You strain, you concentrate, you rifle through the files of your memory. The name does not come. Frustrated, you finally give up. You go and make a cup of tea, and in that moment of release, of cessation, the name floats effortlessly into your awareness. What happened? The striving mind, with its tension and force, was the obstruction. The moment you stopped, the infinite, silent intelligence that is your true nature presented the answer. This is a miniature of the entire spiritual journey. The peace you seek, the love you are, the God you search for. They are all already present, waiting not to be found, but to be allowed. Another example, you lie in bed at night, unable to sleep. The more you try to force yourself to sleep, the more awake you become. Sleep is not an act of will. It is a state you fall into when you relinquish control. So it is with the conscious awareness of your divine nature. You cannot will yourself into it. You cannot think your way into it. You can only stop and let it be. It is the natural state you have covered with layers of mental activity. This ceasing is an internal action. It is the secret, sacred art of inner stillness. You can be still while your body is active in the world. You can be washing dishes, and instead of being lost in a story about the day, you can simply wash the dishes. You can feel the warmth of the water, see the glint of light on a bubble, and in that simple, unadorned attention, the seeker is absent. There is only the doing without a separate doer. You can be listening to a friend, and instead of preparing your response in your mind, you can simply listen completely. In that total attention, the mental machinery grinds to a halt, and what is left is a pure, compassionate presence. That presence is what you are. That is the I am that was before the world was. This is the great stopping. It is the end of the pursuit. It feels to the mind like a risk, like a terrifying leap into the unknown. The mind will protest, "If I stop striving, nothing will happen. My life will fall apart." But I tell you, it is only when you stop that something can happen. It is only when the clamor of your own mind subsides that you can hear the still, small voice that has been speaking your name for all eternity. This is not the end of action. It is the beginning of inspired action, of action that flows from the divine center, not from the fearful periphery. When you cease your mental striving, you are not becoming inactive. You are, for the first time, making room for God to act as you. And so, as the dust of our mental striving begins to settle in this newfound stillness, a revelation of staggering proportions awaits us. It is not a new truth to be learned, but an ancient one to be recognized. It is the realization of your true identity as God, being. This is not a theological proposition to be debated, nor a blasphemous claim to be feared. It is the very core of the message that has been echoing through the ages, waiting for us to be quiet enough to hear it. When the noise of the personal self, with its ambitions, its failures, its story of separation, subsides, what remains is not a vacuum. What remains is a conscious, living presence, a field of pure awareness that is the very substance of all that is. This is what you are. Consider the nature of a wave upon the ocean. The wave may believe itself to be a separate entity. It has a beginning, a distinct form, a name, a journey across the surface, and an end where it crashes upon the shore. It can strive, believing it must become a better wave, a bigger wave, a more spiritual wave. It can compare itself to other waves and feel lacking. But in any moment of true looking, it can realize its profound and unbreakable truth. It is not a separate thing struggling upon the surface. It is the ocean itself, expressing a temporary, beautiful form. Its substance is ocean. Its life is ocean. Its power and its being are ocean. Your sense of a separate self, with its personal history and private anxieties, is the wave. Your true identity is the ocean, the boundless, eternal, divine consciousness in which all waves of form appear and disappear. This is the I am that you have heard of. You say, I am tired. I am happy. I am a teacher. I am a failure. But notice, before any of those temporary conditions or labels can be applied, there must first be the foundational I am. That simple, pure sense of being aware is the constant. It is the screen upon which the movie of your life plays. You get so absorbed in the drama of the movie, the conflicts, the romances, the tragedies, that you completely forget the luminous, silent screen that gives the images their reality. Your true identity is not a character in the movie, it is the screen itself. The aware presence that is witnessing the entire show without being stained by any of it. Let this sink into the practical moments of your day. You are walking down a busy street, lost in thought about a problem. Suddenly, a bird sings from a nearby tree. For a split second, the problem vanishes. There is no you thinking about it. There is only the pure, unexpected beauty of the sound. In that instant, who were you? You were not the problem solver. You were not the worried person. You were the aware space in which the sound of the bird arose and was appreciated. That space, that pure consciousness, is the God being. It is the uncreated, unchanging reality of you that was present before the thought and remains after the thought has passed. Or consider a moment of true creativity when you are so absorbed in painting, writing, or even solving a complex problem at work that you lose all sense of time and self. The critic is silent. The worrier is gone. There is only the flow of the activity. In that state of flow, the sense of a separate, striving self has vanished. What is left is a focused, intelligent, creative energy operating through the instrument of your mind and body. That energy, that intelligence, is the divine being in action. It is not yours personally. It is the universal creative principle expressing itself as you. You are not a creator. You are creation itself happening. This understanding utterly transforms your relationship with the world. When you believe you are a separate self, life is a constant battle for survival, for gain, for protection. You see others as separate from you, as competitors, threats, or objects for your gratification. But when the realization dawns that your true identity is the one divine consciousness appearing as all forms, the entire universe becomes your own body. The person you meet is not other than you. They are another expression of the same I am that you are. How can you hate your own hand? How can you cheat your own foot? Compassion, then, is not a moral duty. It is a natural, spontaneous recognition of your own self in every face, in every creature. The joy of another becomes your joy. The suffering of another becomes a call to care for your own being. This is the foundation of a life not lived from the small, selfish ego, but from the boundless, impersonal love of the God, being you have always been. The struggle ends not because you have won, but because the one who is struggling, the separate self, has been seen for the illusion it is. What remains is peace, a peace that passes all understanding, because it is the peace of God, knowing itself as all. This recognition of our true nature as the divine presence itself brings us to the very cornerstone of the message, the key that unlocks the scriptures and our own experience. The Christ is your own I am. This is perhaps the most misunderstood and consequently the most liberating truth we can ever encounter. We have been taught to look for the Christ as a figure outside of ourselves, a historical personage to be worshipped from afar. But I tell you, the Christ is not a man. The Christ is a principle, the divine essence of your own being. The I am that was before Abraham was the very activity of God individualized as your consciousness. When you say, I am, you are not merely stating a fact of your existence. You are uttering the sacred name. You are giving voice to the very power that forms worlds. This I am is not your personal property. It is the one universal life, and it is your only life. The man, Jesus, realized this to such a phenomenal degree that he became a perfect transparency for this Christ, this I. am. He did not come to be worshipped, but to show us the way, to demonstrate the potential of a life lived not from the personal sense of self, but from the fullness of the impersonal I am. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He was not referring to his physical body or his human personality. He was pointing to the Christ consciousness, the I am that he embodied, which is the same I am that constitutes your very being. He showed us that we are not humans trying to become spiritual. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and the bridge between the two is the conscious recognition of the I am as our true identity. Let this truth move from the abstract into the concrete reality of your daily life. You are faced with a challenge, perhaps a financial difficulty or a health concern. The human mind, the personal I, immediately goes into a state of fear. It says, I am sick, I am poor, I am afraid. But these are all statements that follow the great I am. They are claims you are making about your identity. You are attaching the limitless power of the I am to a finite, limiting condition. Now, understand this. You cannot fight these false claims with more mental effort. The solution is not to argue with the thought, I am sick, by desperately asserting, I am well. That is just another form of struggle, another activity of the personal mind. The solution is to retreat to the source. It is to become silent and recognize the I am that stands prior to any condition. Before I am sick, there is I am. Before I am afraid, there is I am. This I am is pure, unconditioned being. It is whole, perfect, and free. Abide there. Rest in the simple, naked awareness of I am. Do not finish the sentence. Do not allow the world or your thoughts to attach a label to it. Just I am. In that space, a profound shift occurs. You are no longer identifying as the sick person or the afraid person. You are identifying as the pure, conscious presence in which the appearance of sickness or fear is happening. You are the sky, not the passing storm cloud. This is not a denial of the human picture. It is a change of identity in the face of it. From this place of stillness, this conscious union with your Christ self, any necessary human action you take will be inspired, intelligent, and effective, because it will flow from wholeness, not from fear. Consider a moment of profound intuition. You have a decision to make, and you have weighed all the pros and cons with your intellect, but you feel no clarity. Finally, in a moment of quiet surrender, you stop thinking. You simply rest in the stillness of just being. And then, from a place deeper than your reasoning mind, a knowing arises. It is clear, certain, and carries a sense of rightness. This is the voice of the Christ, your own I am consciousness, guiding you. It is not a voice you hear with your ears, but a knowing you feel in your bones. This is the inner teacher, the comforter. That was promised. It is not separate from you. It is you, your own divine self, operating as wisdom and direction. When you are feeling a sense of lack or loneliness, the human mind will scream, I am alone. I am unloved. But if you can, even for a moment, pause and feel the actual sensation of being, the simple I amness you may notice something astonishing. The feeling of being is already full. It is complete in itself. It requires no external validation to be. The sense of lack is a story the mind tells about this inherently full presence. By shifting your identity from the story to the presence, you touch the hem of the garment of the Christ within, and you find that the wholeness you were seeking externally was your own native state all along. This is the great secret. The kingdom of heaven is not a location to which you will go. It is the realm of this I am consciousness, and it is within you. To enter it, you need only to cease being the prodigal son in a far country of thought and sensation, and remember the I am of the Father's house, which is your own eternal dwelling place. And so we arrive at the great turning point, the silent pivot upon which the entire spiritual universe turns. It is the sacred imperative to surrender the seeker to become the sought. All our efforts, our prayers, our meditations, our intense longing for God, these are the activities of the seeker. And as long as there is a seeker, there is, by definition, a sense of separation from that which is sought. The very one who is praying to feel the presence of God is the very one standing in the way of its realization. The seeker is the illusion of a self that is apart from God, and therefore its every activity, no matter how noble, only reinforces the foundational lie of separation. The ultimate surrender is not the surrender of your vices or your will. It is the surrender of the seeker itself. This is the profound meaning behind the instruction to be still and know that I am God. The stillness is not a prelude to knowing. It is the very atmosphere in which knowing happens. It is the cessation of the seeker. In that stillness, there is no one left to seek, and therefore, that which was sought is revealed as what has always been present. You are not still in order to become one with God. You are still, and in that stillness you realize oneness is the only reality, and the seeker was a phantom, a ripple on the surface of the ocean, mistaking itself for a separate entity. The sought is the seeker. God is not the object of your consciousness. God is the very consciousness with which you are aware of any object. To realize this, you must relinquish the one who is looking for an object called God. Let this truth penetrate the most intimate areas of your life. You have a deep, heartfelt desire for unconditional love. The seeker in you looks for this love in relationships, in the approval of others, in the embrace of family. It is perpetually disappointed because no external source can ever fully satisfy the infinite capacity of your own being. The moment you surrender the seeker of love, the moment you stop all the outward searching and become utterly still with the H of what feels like its absence, a miracle occurs. The H itself, when met with pure, silent awareness, transforms. It is no longer an emptiness to be filled, but a vast, spacious capacity to hold all things in compassion. You discover that you are not a vessel needing to be filled with love from the outside. You are the ocean of love itself. The sought was the seeker. The love you desired was your own fundamental nature. obscured by the frantic activity of seeking it elsewhere. Consider your pursuit of purpose and meaning. The seeker strives to find its mission, its reason for being. It reads books, attends seminars, and tries on different roles, hoping one will finally feel like the real me. This seeking is like a wave trying to find its purpose, never realizing that its purpose is to be the ocean, expressing itself as a wave. The surrender comes when you exhaust yourself in the search and finally give up. You stop trying to find your purpose, and instead, you rest in the simple, profound fact of being. In that stillness, a different kind of intelligence begins to guide you. It is not the planning, calculating mind of the seeker, but the spontaneous, intuitive flow of the sought, your own Christhood moving through you. Actions then arise not from a sense of lack, trying to achieve a purpose, but from the fullness of being expressing itself as purpose. You do not find your purpose finds you the moment the seeker gets out of the way. This is the secret behind effective prayer. The seeker prays from a position of lack, pleading with a distant God to come and fix a situation. Oh God, please give me peace. Oh God, please heal my body. This kind of prayer reinforces the two, nests the separation. But when you surrender the seeker, prayer becomes a state of communion. It is the silence in which you acknowledge the presence of the sought right where you are. You do not ask for peace, you become still and acknowledge, Thou art the peace of my being. You do not beg for healing, you become silent and realize, Thou art the wholeness of my body. You are not speaking to God, you are allowing God to speak as you, to be you. The prayer is not a request, it is a recognition. And in that recognition, the situation which seemed to require prayer is seen from a new perspective, from the perspective of the sought, which is already whole, already complete, already expressing its perfection in, as, and through the entire universe, including the form you call yourself. The seeker is like a man who has inherited a vast fortune but has forgotten the combination to the vault. He spends his life in poverty, begging for coins on the street, all the while sitting on the steps of the bank that holds his wealth. The surrender is the moment he stops begging, sits quietly, and remembers the combination. He does not acquire anything new, he simply accesses what was always his. Your spiritual practice, then, is not about accumulating more knowledge or achieving higher states. It is about the gentle, consistent, and fearless surrender of the beggar until only the wealthy hair remains. It is the dissolution of the one who is trying to remember into the silent, knowing presence of the one who never forgot. This surrender, this profound and final relinquishment of the seeker, ushers us into the very heart of reality. It is not a state of emptiness or negation, but one of supreme fullness. It is the state of silent communion. This is not a communion you achieve, it is the communion you are. When the clamor of the personal self subsides, what is revealed is not a blank void, but a living, vibrant, intelligent silence that is in constant, dynamic relationship with all of creation. This silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of God. It is the medium through which the infinite communicates with the finite, not as two separate things, but as the ocean communicating with the wave. This is where truth is known, not learned. It is where healing occurs, not applied. It is where guidance is received, not sought. This silent communion is the most practical state of being you will ever know. It is not reserved for the meditation cushion or the mountaintop. It is the very fabric of a life lived consciously. Imagine you are about to have a difficult conversation. The personal self is already rehearsing its arguments, preparing its defenses, and steeling itself for conflict. This is the noise that guarantees misunderstanding. But if, in the moments before you speak, you can consciously enter this silent communion, not by repeating a mantra, but by simply allowing the mental chatter to fall away and resting as the aware presence that you are, the entire dynamic shifts. You enter the conversation from a place of wholeness, not lack. You listen not to reboot, but to understand, because the other person is also an expression of the same one life. Your words, when they come, will not be the pre-programmed reactions of the ego, but spontaneous responses born of that silent intelligence. They may be words you could never have planned, carrying a wisdom and a compassion that is clearly not your own, because the personal you has stepped aside. This is the power of silent communion in action. Or consider a moment of creative blockage. You stare at the blank page, the empty canvas, the silent instrument. The mind strains, it forces, it judges, and it despairs. This is the seeker in its activity, and its activity is the blockage. The moment you surrender this effort, the moment you simply become still and rest in the silence behind the frustration, you open a channel. Inspiration is not something you generate, it is something you permit. It flows from the infinite into the finite the moment the finite stops its noisy interference. The idea, the melody, the solution, it will come. It may come as a gentle whisper or a sudden flash of insight, but it will originate from a dimension beyond the personal mind. This is why artists and inventors often speak of their best work coming through them, not as from them. They have touched, however briefly, the state of silent communion where the individual instrument is played by the universal musician. This communion is also the secret of true empathy and compassion. When you encounter someone who is suffering, the personal self often reacts with pity, which is a subtle form of separation, or with the urge to immediately fix the problem, which can be born of discomfort. But if you can meet that person from the place of silent communion, something else happens. You do not merely see their pain, you hold a space of silent, loving awareness for their pain. You are not trying to take their pain away, for that would be to deny their experience. Instead, you are offering the sanctity of your own being as a container for their suffering to be witnessed, and in that witnessing, to be transformed. You are not doing anything, and yet you are offering everything. You are being the silence that allows the noise of their anguish to settle. This is the deepest form of healing presence, for you are not a separate healer, healing a separate patient. You are the one life, conscious of itself, bringing the light of awareness to a contracted aspect of its own expression. Even in the most mundane tasks, this principle holds. Washing the dishes, driving the car, walking the dog, these are not interruptions to your spiritual life. They are the very arena of its practice. The moment you bring the fullness of your attention to the sensation of warm water on your hands, the sight of the road ahead, the sound of the dog's panting, you have entered silent communion. The commentary, the judgment, the mental storytelling ceases, and there is only the pure experience, lived and known by the silent presence that you are. In these moments, you are not a human heirs doing a chore, you are God, expressing as the experience of washing, driving, walking. The sacred and the mundane become one. The division between spiritual practice and daily life dissolves completely, and you find that you are in an unbroken, continuous communion with the source of all that is, because you have realized you are never, and have never been, separate from it. This is the fruit of the great surrender, a life not of occasional spiritual experiences, but of constant spiritual existence,